Welcome to the Agents of the Roundtable Wiki Community AMA. Every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC, we discuss Secret Network and its applications with guests from all around the network. This is an audio recording of the AMA. We hope you enjoy.
Next month or
No, so
okay.
in terms of how do I put this? How they want to in the lead up to launch, and obviously a timeline and stuff not too
Yeah.
certain, but how they want to kind of create that community engagement. I that's what we were talking about.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, cool stuff. So sounds good. I guess it's time to tweet again from socials.
I think you have a bigger following than I do, but I'll go ahead. Where's our guest of honor?
At Dunny. What was it? Let me just go to the secret AOTRT. I got told to tell Jackal that Hydra loves them.
How sincere. I mean, I was watching Eric's interview with them earlier. That was must have been a year ago now, close to it.
Really?
I don't know. He was talking about Secret Swap a lot, so I figured it was a while ago. Maybe it wasn't too long ago.
Are they? I thought that. I'm pretty sure that.
There was one where they were talking about being sponsored by Pylon Protocol. So I guess something changed with that as well.
Was that for Secret Swap?
No. Jackal's one of the earliest Jackal's interview they did with cryptochemistry back in December. It was only back in December. It has been.
Maybe they will still then. I that'd be interesting. I have heard of. I definitely have looked at Pylon Protocol at some point. I just don't remember.
Yeah, they might have chosen to go with IPFS and I guess just Secret.
Oh,
I guess that's something we can
Filecoin.
ask them. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're on a Filecoin grant as well, I believe.
Is that is that like Twitch where it's exclusive or something?
I'd imagine kind of, because you need one single place to do cold storage.
Oh yeah, that's true. And they do the whole yeah.
Yeah, because they're
That's the incentivization
hot
way
storage.
of their thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Once upon a time, we had traction in these meetings.
I mean, maybe people got jobs because the fucking market's so bad, or freaking market's so bad.
Hey, I'd take that as a good thing, you know.
Yeah, at this point, I don't even want to open any tracking sites or my phone's hard to look at. I gotta move the point market cap off my phone.
Oh.
Or at least to the third screen, because nothing's changing. I feel like.
Yeah.
I just think the UST peg stuff is pretty nutty stuff to follow too. At least it's entertaining.
Yep. Look, whoa! I didn't realize. Wow, I didn't realize Secret is $2.80 right now. Jeez.
Oh no! Why'd you tell
Welcome
dude?
to the recession, boys.
I told you I was detoxing. Is BTC below 30 yet?
Oh wait, I actually genuinely have. I saw it. It definitely hit. It hit 32K at least an hour ago because KSI tweeted about it. It's
Dude, where is the
31.3.
okay?
Wow.
That's better. Where's the UST peg? Christ.
What 9.97? But they're currently doing collateral stuff for that. To be honest.
Yeah, no, it takes a while to like revamp back, or it's not gonna be. It's part of like the anti manipulation.
It's part of the algo thing. It just
Yeah,
is how it is.
the part of the algo.
Yeah, like because it's algo.
Yeah, just because it does algorithmic stuff.
Waves and Near Protocol in the top 100 are the only two that are up in the last 24 hours.
Dude, Waves, is it still just the Ukraine thing? I thought they rugged. I heard like they lost a bunch. They're still doing well. It's good. I just know they have like a duck NFT. That's the last time I checked, and I think they're like up 10, like 15 or 10
I have
times.
I have no clue what they do. Genuinely, no clue.
I think they're just like I know they're Ukrainian based, and I
I know that too.
and they just had one DApp on whatever, and it was just a minting site for a duck, a rubber ducky like NFT. Maybe they're super rare now.
Yeah, this is kind of sad. That's okay. Well, nobody likes us.
It's an elite group.
The meeting coordinator, the agent coordinators joined Legends per Ponk's Pope. Love you guys.
If no one comes, we might cancel it. Yeah, feels bad.
Yeah, that's okay. It happens. I genuinely think the market downturn has like snubbed a lot of interest.
People are just in bed.
No, genuinely, I think it's just.
Don't
I
want
mean,
to check their
nobody wants to look
portfolios
at
or
like
log
if you're
on.
not working in crypto, why are you checking crypto stuff right now?
There's our head in chat. Fucking having a crisis. Yeah, that's the lowest I've ever seen Secret. Holy fuck. It's been lower, right?
Yeah. I've definitely so.
Since launch, of course.
No. I think when I first saw Secret, it was lower, and I was like, oh, I'd buy it. And then I watched it pump, and I went, okay, if I wake up the next morning and it's still going up, then I'll buy some. That was how I got into Secret, by the way. I FOMO'd in. That was
Almost.
okay. Yep.
I got in gradually. I think that's part of the trip, I guess. Did Ederman?
You see,
Ederman can cash out. You guys be bought in at 0.8. Don't leave us, Ederman.
wait, did
We're
you
stuck.
actually, Edelman? Wow. Right. No, you're not allowed to cash out. Yeah, it looks like we don't have friends, so I guess this doesn't. Wow.
I feel bad. We kind of scared some time out of Dunny's
Yeah,
death.
we're here to steal. We're here to steal allotments of your time, Dunny, and can't this apparently
Yeah,
nobody here. So
slowly
well.
sabotaging the launch.
Yeah, so are we doing Ages Roundtable here? I think I got lost for a second in my
Usually,
tally.
but I think not only did it get lost in your calendar, but it also got lost in our community. So
Wow.
we usually, I genuinely think it's probably the market downturn because we usually get like at least 30 people. It's usually where it sits around. Decent engagement on Twitter for the secret AOTRT post. It wasn't like, yeah,
All right.
everyone's
So
like keeping off
After
the
the
charts.
airdrop, and then they just.
well, that's okay. That's okay. We prefer to build in peace, anyways, as we continue to grind away and chew glass into the abyss. Right, Aaron?
You don't.
I think I just doxed you, Aaron. Sorry about that, dude.
Chewing glass. You guys are at that stage, huh?
Aaron Aaron Yeager. Just saying. Like I think it's a good.
Yeah, so what do you guys want to talk about? We can talk about anything. The floor is yours. If you want any question, Marty, thanks for always being the best in a Discord and throwing haymakers on Twitter for us when we need it. So it's
Yeah, I don't
great.
know where the hell that came from. It was like out of nowhere.
What
No,
happened?
I was surprised. I don't know. Yeah.
The founder of Chihuahua said that no one should stake to Jackal's validator because we're useless. It was the
What
word that
the
he said.
fuck?
Well, in
Yo,
fairness,
sorry, who's running the
He
shitcoin? My
does,
bad.
he does, yeah, he does like do donate to the validator. So he did kind of do what he called them out for, but it was just like, what the hell? I
well,
don't know.
he
That was
runs
surprising.
relayers, but I think he runs relayers for his own token.
For yeah, like
He runs it for his own token,
it shouldn't exist.
and he made the shitcoin. He made literally the shitcoin on
I
Cosmos.
felt bad about tossing that around with like yeah, like
We
like
didn't
that.
need
You
one,
know, like I feel
but
like that's kind of like a new like I don't know. That's me, but like it is.
Yeah,
my
that was
personal opinion on it is I don't think shitcoins in and of themselves are bad. You know, they are onboarding mechanisms, they're all these things. However, that also implies know how to do this like thing. It's a business concept. It's called marketing, and I don't think Chihuahua's been that great with it.
man. They have like 20,000 followers. They're kicking
No, they
around,
haven't
but
been bad, but I'm saying like I feel like you have to do a lot more when you're a shitcoin to really like grow that. You know, I think it's more just
yeah,
like a
no, I agree
Cosmos
with you.
community thing than like,
No, there's an astonishing amount of dog coins out there. So I guess in terms of dog coins, they're like in the top. Got to be like 5%. So that's right. That's
No,
good. I guess.
they're doing pretty good. They have my respect for the meme coin scale. They have a lot of
Yeah,
our
it's a
respect,
tough
and
world out there, man. Like,
yeah, well,
you
they're also validating a lot of chains, and they're big contributors. If Stake Lab is the same people, they're big
yeah, I'm sure
contributors to
there's
the
devs
ecosystem.
that cross over, right?
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Do you guys
Do
have any
report.
questions? Any
Yeah,
questions
yeah,
for
for
us?
sure.
What's up?
Um, kind of towards after your initial launch in the storage, because we've heard about you guys have done a million interviews on that and stuff, and we kind of know what we're getting there in terms of uh, getting away from the Web 2, kind of like information and data farms on us. I was wondering your plans for the DAO and public good funding afterwards. You guys seem really passionate about, obviously, the fields that you came from in terms of like security and cybersecurity and whatnot. If you can
Is it
expand
open
on
source
that.
intelligence?
Yeah, that's our background. So we work on cryptocurrency theft frauds, North America, also digital forensics, digital
That's so cool.
investigations, and all kinds of that stuff. But for the DAO, we want to kind of have the Jackal DAO operate in a very similar way to something like the Secret DAO, where you can go to a chain for proposals, and we've had a lot of people reach out to us regarding trying to start things. We've heard of people looking to start, for example, like an ethical hacking. Kind of like an ethical hacking, I want to say web application where you can use it kind of like a hacker one, for example. Other things for the DAO in general, we'd like to support things like citizen journalism. We like to support professional services development, and we're also looking at ways that we can kind of put paywalls. This is kind of an interesting thing when we think about Jackal Nomads and in general. If you can put a paywall in front of the data itself, something really interesting can occur where you can pretty much sell any deliverable of a professional service, anything you'd see on, for example, Fiverr.com. And we're just kind of looking at having the DAO drive the direction of development. And most importantly, what we really want the DAO to do is, most importantly, is hold us accountable, right? Because we're creating something it's a pretty interesting thing, and when if you look at it, it's kind of if you mix BitTorrent with the Tor browser and Tendermint consensus,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
mix all
the last bit was still so unnecessary, but like,
yeah, so if you mix all those wild things together, we're gonna have some really hard questions we're gonna have to ask ourselves regarding the governance of that product, and we
Yeah.
don't want to kind of us be like the dictators of our own gray web. I think that it's important. We have to build it because it's something that must be built because we think if our lives are starting to be more online and people are starting to collect data and people are doing things like brain interface research, we can have interfaces with computers from directly from your brain. Where is
yep.
You
that
could have
data
just like
supposed to be? Where's
Google
that data
Ads. Sheesh.
supposed to be held, right? And we think that it's not feasible for everyone to have a server rack in their house. It's also wildly expensive for everyone to have a server rack in their house.
Yep.
So we think that we can find a way to create the only product on market where the end user has privacy, number one, and is also self-custodial of their cloud storage rather than a third party accessing it.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're going, and we want the DAO to help us answer these hard questions and really take a hard look at it from a philosophical. Did I say philosophical?
Philosophical.
From a philosophical standpoint, also like a sociology standpoint, from what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and it's completely permissionless, so we have to figure out ways that we would have to add like search functions on it and figure out what's allowed on, what's not allowed on, and things along those lines. But it's we're gonna have a lot of hard questions coming down the pipe, so we want to have it now.
Certainly sounds like quite a lot to figure out in terms of governance decisions possibly down the line. Just to backtrack a little bit to what you were saying earlier at the beginning, in terms of like providing kind of like a barrier of payment, like a proof of payment, or you gotta pay for this segment of data. Could that be applied to like a Git commit or something like that, since it's kind of like peer to peer?
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of ways to apply it right now. Obviously, where we are in our stage of development is like we're building like SDK and API right now, and we're also kind of like reskinning the entire system, because if you guys participated in the test net, you'll remember like how ugly it was.
Yeah.
No,
I felt like
Aaron.
I was on curve, dude.
No. Well, Aaron's been working his ass off. We went through, I think, like 14
really
or
nice,
15 different alpha versions, I think, during that time. It's nice to be in closed beta, but unfortunately the testnet was down for a lot of April, so we're kind of building other things like RNS and doing what we can with the time on our hands. But yeah, no, we're just building away. But could a Git commit do that as a paywall? If a community member wants to create it, we're open source software. If you want to do a pull request, if you want to do all kinds of things like that, if you want to create it yourself, we would love for you to do so. If you want to suggest how we can create it, we would also love that as well. We're doing all kinds of development right now, and unfortunately, from all the specific technical questions, my technical co-founder is not on the call right now, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to kick that off to Marston when he gets back as well.
Marston.
Okay, so we'll skip the IPFS infrastructure stuff a little bit.
Well, I can try to answer what I can. I know how IPFS we acts as the discovery layer for the product, and we use Filecoin for the cold storage archiving of the product.
What do you mean discovery layer?
To explain it.
Yeah. So, well, if you look at what the product is in general, it's a peer-to-peer network that is not really a protocol in itself. It's like it's really just very similar to like I want to say like BitTorrent or another peer-to-peer system, but it doesn't actually live on a chain. What does live on the chain is a smart contract for the storage itself. So the reason why the smart contract has to sit on the secret network is because we need that programmable privacy. As right now, the only place that you can have that programmable privacy in all of Web3 is right here. So this is where we are. The cool thing is we built the system really modularly. So how the system works is the CID of the file, so the location of the file and the ability to encrypt and decrypt it, is sitting on your smart contract associated with your secret network wallet address in your private metadata. So the keys to all your data for encryption and decryption is actually controlled by the smart contract that is in your possession, not ours. So that's kind of like your keys to tell our peer-to-peer network. So when you want to, let's say you want to store a file. So what happens is you just drag and drop the file into the web browser, and you guys kind of did this on the alpha. At that time, it's running in an isolated JavaScript client that is sitting in. So your computer's actually encrypting it through our encryption libraries, but it's completely, you could air gap your computer if you wanted to. There's no connection going out. We're also open source.
That's completely client side encryption.
Yeah, so it's running. We could make it like an application that runs on your computer, but right now it's easier to do it in the web browser. At that time, right now, we have it in 2 transactions because it's easier for us to troubleshoot, but it could be roped into 1 transaction. Once it's encrypted, then you push it by signing the transaction with your secret network wallet through Kepler. So you sign the transaction, which pushes it to the peer-to-peer network. When that occurs, then we can kind of get, you guys want to get in the nitty gritty of like the light nodes and heavy nodes and kind of how that system works as well?
I
Is
mean,
that
I
like
think.
is
Wait,
that
I
like more
think
on the
personally we
IPFS
would enjoy
side?
it.
Yeah, well, let's go. We have the time, right? So
Yeah,
essentially what
I'm
happens,
personally down.
yeah, so we have light nodes and heavy nodes, and luckily we operate really closely with the guys at Protocol Labs who made Filecoin and IPFS. So they're invested in our private round. They gave us a grant, and we have a really great oh my goodness, a working relationship with the guys over there. So what happens is we have these light nodes and heavy nodes. So light nodes run the Jackal client and have as much storage as possible. So essentially, you could use an old laptop to run a light node, or you can have like a purpose-built machine to run a light node. We're right now working on ways that we like upvote and downvote different nodes, so it's a little bit competitive because we want the system to get stronger over time while still staying decentralized. So you could run it with an old laptop in the early days, I'm sure, and it would actually probably be pretty profitable. But that's what
Until
those, yeah. So that's
kind of the bigger guys take over, or you guys
um,
start to move on to
well,
enterprise?
we think that anyone can run a light node, but the heavy nodes, it starts to get a little bit funky. And I'll
Yeah,
explain that to you. So how it works is all the light nodes get over incentivized. So they get paid way more Jackal than they deserve in the initial stage. But for them to go to finality, they actually have to pick a heavy node to pay. So there's actually like an own economy between our light nodes and heavy nodes. So
wow.
so that's kind of how that market is going to kind of balance itself. And really what the heavy nodes are is they run the Jackal client and they're a Filecoin Lotus node. So we built our own open source software. I think it's in the public repo, if I remember correctly. And it's called Dingo.
Yeah,
What Dingo is Marston, it's kind of a copy of something called PowerGate, which is a software that's already been on Filecoin for a while, but they're not really like updating it. So we had to build it ourselves.
yeah. I
So
heard
we
you guys
built
talk about that in like one of your interviews where you're going with Pylon, I think. Is that right?
the Pylon protocol. The Pylon protocol is kind of like
Yeah.
a thing. So what PowerGate is, it's a little bit different. So PowerGate is like the software that is needed for our backend to interface with the backend of Filecoin without a centralized bottleneck. So what the heavy nodes are is they operate as Filecoin Lotus nodes and Jackal client nodes. The importance of this is that if every single heavy node is a Filecoin Lotus node at the same time, we can just integrate directly into Filecoin without getting choked or getting stopped at any moment. So that's kind of like brings that resiliency to the system in itself. But when we talk about a heavy node is like I think we quoted like to run a heavy node, like purchase everything new and then also run a heavy node. We're looking at like $7,000 in the first year. After that, you don't have to buy the machine anymore, but that's what we're looking at for that. So running a light node is a lot less of a financial like upfront cost, and you don't need that much capital to start one of those. And then we're also looking at implementing programs where people can like graduate from a light node to a heavy node or have multiple light nodes. And we're kind of looking to figure out any way people can game the system. And we have 2 great economists that are working on the project right now, trying to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah,
So
that's encouraging.
yeah, so to kind of like go full circle of how the system works, so you drag and drop your file into the client encrypts it like on your computer. You can air gap your computer if you really want to. At that time, you pay your gas, and then the file gets pushed to before you pay your gas, it's like key requests and key result from the secret network to tell the client that number one, you paid, and number two, like this is where you store the location of the file afterwards in this private metadata, and it just tells the client that, which is like an isolated JavaScript client. At that point, the file moves to probably gets received by a light node. A light node goes, awesome. I'm going to copy this around the peer-to-peer network for redundancy, and then I'm going to go find a heavy node that's going to jam it on the Filecoin cold storage system as well. At that time, the location of the CID is sent back to the client. The client will store it in your secret network metadata.
And the CID is like the thing that marks your data specifically, correct?
Yeah. So the cool thing about Filecoin is we think it's a lot of people like Arrow, even a lot of people like Sidecoin, but we think Filecoin is best from a technology standpoint, even though it has its haters. Particularly because it actually indexes by content. It doesn't index by location.
Right.
So
that's why
actually
it's kind of like interplanetary or whatever, because you can technically
super efficient.
Yeah.
Super duper efficient. So when it comes to like the speed of that process, we're like pretty comparable to I guess storage would be the most direct competition. We're always going to be a little bit slower than like Google, for example, because we have that end-to-end encryption, which provides that privacy. So it'll always be like a tad bit slower, but it's really not that noticeable once we get the peer-to-peer network strong.
How just curious from like how do you have like a number on how much the difference would be?
Like right now we don't have a number because like we're running like in a testnet environment, so it's kind of hard because we're running on like the secret network testnet. So if we're on mainnet, we'll have a better idea. But even on testnet, it was pretty similar to storage, which is our most direct competitor in the Web3 space, I would say.
But compared to Google, I'm just kind of curious about thinking about like what's it like user retainment, like attention retainment, or whatever the word is.
Yeah. So right now, when you look at the product itself, we're thinking about fleshing out the dashboard actually a little bit more. So the cool thing about Jackal in itself is it's a Dropbox kind of comparable for the end user. So this is the B2C product, not the B2B product. If I'm being completely honest, the B2B product is actually where we would make a lot of money because we make money by selling unique terabytes, but we want to have a really awesome B2C product. And that's what our focus is right now for MVP, because we understand that you guys are going to be people that are going to drive the direction of this, number one, and also be those like early people that we can work with to test the product and have incentivized testing and A/B testing with the community. So we're looking at kind of trying to see if we can make the dashboard like your home base for the Cosmos ecosystem in that sense, where if other teams would allow it, we could actually like reskin dexes and just jam it into the dashboard where you can store your files, access your dex, see all your stuff, and we wouldn't take a cut. We would just let people have extra visibility, and it would just pay gas directly to Osmosis if they let us, with the Shade protocol if they let us.
You guys could be like the storage, almost like the data storage of the Cosmos ecosystem, and kind of expand to that, like to fill that capacity, because it also has the private end encryption.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so essentially what can happen is we can have a little spot where, actually, do you know what? I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of alfalfa here.
Is it the picture on your home screen, kind of, that's like a third of a picture that kind of shows a front end interface? I saw that, and
I'm not sure if you have the right one. I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
I swear it's on the home page. If you scroll down, it's like on your RNS homepage. Actually, I should say.
Oh yeah. There you go.
When you scroll down, but it's kind of like the third corner, so you only your front end developer did a good job.
Well, you went alfalfa hunting a little bit there. So I'm gonna drop it in the meetings chat. That's what we're looking at. This is like early days, so don't like take this and run with it. We don't know if this is what it's gonna look like.
Oh my god, let's retweet this.
No.
Okay.
Well, because particularly the reason I don't want to retweet it is because it says like Apple, Disney, and Tesla use Jackal, which is just like a blatant lie. But if you look at the cool thing about this is it can have your wallet balances. We can have the social aspects as well, where you can have a little bit of I guess.
See what you mean. I see what you mean. Like you can really make this like a
It looks
dashboard
like
for the hub.
Ethereum push notification service a little bit. If you guys are familiar with that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, well, what it can be is where it says projects using Jackal, we can also have, like, when we incentivize builders to build new products in our ecosystem, we can actually have them kind of act as plugins to the dashboard itself.
And that's a
Would
major
you-
priority for you guys, right?
Absolutely,
Bring
absolutely.
developers afterwards,
Yeah,
or
that's our
second stage.
biggest focus right now is we want to have like a great dev experience. That's the big thing for us, particularly because the
You
more
taking
devs that
notes
are on
from
the
somewhere?
system, the more devs on the system, number one, that means that we have more applications being built, and in turn more unique terabytes being stored on the system.
Do you have any
So
projects that you feel confident about, or not confident about, or maybe promising for that could make use of your protocol?
So it's completely permissionless, so anyone can make use of the protocol. That's the cool thing about Web3. You don't really have to ask us for permission. But some really cool applications is, imagine a situation. I haven't talked with the guys at Stash yet, but theoretically, if the Stash backend is moved from AWS to Jackal, for example, when you purchase an NFT right now on any NFT marketplace, you're purchasing the rights to the NFT. It's just in the metadata in your smart contract. So
Yep.
like it's like a stamp of approval being like, I own this, haha. But
Yeah, it doesn't really mean much.
in the event that, like, for JPEG NFTs, we're just like, okay, like that's cool, but you can kind of think a little bit bigger. Imagine you could purchase the rights to the NFT, and then you could actually purchase the physical JPEG sitting on the back end of their server, and it can move to your Jackal account.
Yeah, that's. I think that's like
Or another
cool.
instance is if you wanted to have a situation where you wanted to purchase a lot of content, like you can talk terabytes of data purchased on chain. It could be situations where it can be deliverables that you want to maintain private. But the big reason why we have the privacy, and we think it's the secret sauce, as a lot of people in this ecosystem believe, the most important thing for us is we don't think you can have enterprise adoption to blockchain data storage unless you have privacy that's auditable. It's just bare bones. The reason why we're building this product is because we were trying to build a product that leveraged blockchain data storage, but we couldn't do it because you can just query file trees or query the data itself.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Exactly.
Anything you would put on it would be, you can put any corporate data on it, basically.
Yeah,
Without
so
it.
right now we're working on compliance things and trying to figure out the best way that we like kind of allow for it to be used.
Permissionless kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's completely permissionless, but we have to maintain the integrity of the underlying infrastructure while also bridging back to corporations that need to use it. Because, for example, like if I walked into a law office tomorrow and said, "Hey, I want you to use this because it's more secure," they would be like, "Okay, how do I get there?" It's like, okay, first you need to get Coinbase, and you have to go to Osmosis. Then from Osmosis, you have to get the Secret Swap, and Secret Swap, you have to swap to a SNP20, and then you have to download the Jackal client.
The
and then
viewing
the Jackal
key.
client, you have to get the viewing key, and then you have to pay for
Go
the
to
storage.
Secret
And then,
Pizza.
yeah, so
the user experience isn't great. But I was just kind of ask on that angle just quickly as before, just so you can like weave it into the continuation of the response. Are you looking to does that mean you're looking to kind of onboard like B2B clients in like a almost a due diligence like DD rooms capacity as well, like in terms of data storage?
no, so what I'm saying is what you're able to do with when you have the ability to bridge back. We call it the Web 2.5 bridge. Well, let's take an example that we're all familiar with. Are you guys familiar with Citadel One? It's the number one validator on the secret network.
Of course.
No, I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah,
I do know they exist.
Yeah, so what Citadel One is a kind of like a dashboard to explore the cosmos, but they just have pay rails for Visa, and they just manage like staking for you, and it's a great Web 2.5 bridge
Oh wait,
to
really?
like
I didn't know that.
traditional users. Yeah. So the cool thing about about that is they bridge their product back to users, but they lose the ability to have a permissionless system that to KYC everyone, and that's
Yep.
the trade that you make, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
We don't want to make that trade, particularly because we have an open source infrastructure that is completely permissionless, and we want to protect all of our users. But what we can do is, if you want to be an entrepreneur in an area, for example, I'm from Ottawa, Canada. So if I'm in Ottawa and I say, hey, do you know what? I really want to provide the ability to businesses around here to leverage the highest security posture and digital privacy posture available on the market. Two, also provided at a much cheaper price point than what they're already paying. And number three, they can be self-custodial of their data. So what I can do is I can online all those Visa pay rails. That law firm probably wants to be able to recover its password at this time because it's not ready for Web3 product of this caliber right now. So what you can do is you have 50 to 80% margin to work with, and you can provide the product. You can build your own front end for the product, and you can just resell it to people in your area. We front load the compliance to you. So we don't have to be compliant, but you can be compliant, and we can work with you for ways to create subnets or pen test or node providers or things along those
be
lines.
like an advisor, sort of, and kind of just like give them the open source technology or let them kind of.
It's every computer in the world is run on Linux, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of purpose-built front ends and software that's out there that is tacked on that, and then they resell the product. They still leverage Linux to download it, right? So
Yeah,
what our go-to-market plan here is for this current stage is we have white labeling services. So if you're an entrepreneur in your city and you say, hey, do you know what? From MVP, a Jackal product would be great as a ransomware backup. What you can do is you can literally walk into a business and say, hey, do you want to have a ransomware backup that is 80% cheaper and you have a higher security posture? If they say yes, you can sell it to them, and you can have whatever margin you want between $8 a month per terabyte to $28 a month per terabyte.
And the incentive to go with you guys over Google is strictly the guarantee of that they know that you guys can't view their stuff, and Google isn't snooping, and this is confidential stuff because it's business stuff.
Well, absolutely. It's cheaper. It has a higher security posture, and you can provide whatever they wish. They can have their own private keys. If they want to have a recover your password option, you can manage the private keys for them. That's between you and your clients, but you can leverage our open source infrastructure to provide this solution. Other things that we're like building right now, we've been talking with a few number of different companies that are interested in onlining these quote unquote white labeling services. There's a few in Ottawa that we've been talking to. We're running pilots with other people, but they're just building on top of our infrastructure and then selling it to the public, whether that's an e-discovery tool, whether that's just like vanilla ransomware backups that you can do from MVP. It's all kinds of different things you can do. But
yeah,
yeah,
go on. It's primarily tech services or Web 2 kind of services looking to kind of get a head start on the privacy front, or is it mostly just Web 3 projects?
If you look at it this way, you can see Web3 as the next generation of digital privacy postures and cybersecurity postures, because you don't have the attack vectors of username and password or email and password or human error. As long as you maintain the integrity of your private keys wherever they're sitting, it's the highest security posture you have on the market. So we see it as getting an organization to go to the next generation of a digital privacy and cybersecurity posture. But we can't deliver it directly to customers, so we rely on entrepreneurs to do that on our behalf that recognize that this is a strong, it's strong value adds for the industry of cybersecurity in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of.
So you can.
No, go ahead. You can finish your thought.
I was just saying that's kind of where we are right now. We're just building away.
Hey, so can't this How have you been? I was gonna ask, what do you guys? So, what do you guys specifically focus on internally in Jackal, like each of you? Because I'm not too. You said Marston's more the developer side of things.
Yeah.
Dunny, you seem
So,
like a jack of all trades. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, well, I just kind of I keep everything afloat. I work on biz dev primarily. I also kind of structured the business, structured the foundation for Jackal, structured the
Just like project
uh,
management.
You have a law
it's
background, right?
not as much as a project man. I do not have a law background. I've worked on a lot of legal teams though, as a
Okay.
contractor, doing forensics and things along those lines. But I'm not a lawyer. But what I am familiar with is I've been working in startups for a while. So I worked on a startup called Liquids of Intel, and we grew that, and now it's kind of able to run itself, which is great. Now I'm working on this. This is my second startup journey. But my background is all cybersecurity, digital forensics, open source intelligence, professional services. But we were starting to build an e-discovery tool originally, and we realized that if no one's going to build the infrastructure for our e-discovery tool, we probably should do it ourselves. So that's kind of how we got here. Going into the rest of the team, Aaron, who is I might have just doxed him, but
Again, you don't sound so sorry. I'm not gonna lie.
It's
Aaron
fine.
he's our front end integrations, SDK, APIs. He's also a jack of all trades until we get him a little bit more help. Or that's kind of where our focus is in hiring, is getting him a sidekick.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
quite the load.
Yeah. So we have 3 contract developers. One is Marston, who is awesome. He is the CTO. He is the big brain man.
You guys are all so cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, so me and Marston worked together for a long time before we started this, and he's a pretty big brain guy. He was actually one of my co-op students originally before he came on full time to the previous
Wow.
business, and then now we started working on this together, and he's I don't think he understands how smart he is, which is just pretty wild. Other than that, we have an individual named B. We found B. We kind of sniped him from a Terra hackathon, actually, in my
Nice.
hometown of Ottawa. So we sniped him there, and we said, "Hey, you should probably come over that here." So he was actually our first employee.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else is a contractor because he's Canadian, so he can be an employee at this stage. We have Emery, who is like the lead economist. He is
Love him.
a big brain guy as well. He's been around the Secret Network for a while. We have an individual named Will, marketing. We also have another individual named let's see. He definitely doesn't like to get dogs, so his name's Nugget. If you see Nugget rolling around,
he's the one that actually cares about the Secret Network. He tells you.
yeah, he's a little DeFi ape and just all around great developer. He's been building all kinds of stuff, and we had a lot of respect for his GitHub when he applied. Other than that, we have like about 5 different advisors that are on board, including Carter. Carter is one of our advisors that we snagged onto early
Oh,
days
wow.
when we first entered.
Did you guys do anything
Yeah.
with Jordan? I don't remember.
Jordan, as in Jordan Xavier?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I've talked with him a bunch, and he's an awesome resource. But we haven't been doing anything directly with him. Is just talking from a legal background?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm just curious because I'm really I talk with Jordan a lot.
Yeah,
I
no,
was just
Jordan's a
kinda
cool guy.
I generally have a question, and I don't know if you guys can answer that. Like, I don't know how answerable this question is. I'm just generally curious. Are you guys doing something with Hydra? I know that you guys have talked, I think, but I don't know. Or maybe it was just because we were on a call together. But I was just kind of curious.
Are we doing
Have you
something
asked? Yeah,
with Hydra? Are you
I
talking
don't know
from like
what it would be.
a Dex standpoint, maybe?
I have no clue what standpoint it would be from.
No. So I know there's a lot of
Generally.
chats that are going on. I don't know how much I can release, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Um,
saying. Like, if there's nothing you say, I'm just kind of curious if that's if it's just like there's no real compatibility there, or you think there is but can't say anything.
In the
yeah,
pitch
well,
deck,
it
it's
was
like one
definitely
of 4, right?
yeah.
Your
Well,
logo was, yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at kind of coming together with a kind of share resources from community. I think there's a few people that have been working on that. I don't know how much I can say yet because it's still early days, so I don't want to disappoint anyone at this time. But there's some pretty cool stuff going on. The really cool guy that's leading that out too. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, we are doing stuff with Hydro, and we have a great open communications with them. They're the best.
So, yeah, I was thinking, what could be interesting in terms of you were talking about your dashboard and how you kind of want to like maximize building out like a really cool with UX for like B2C. I was just kind of wondering because obviously Hydra is kind of looking to position themselves as like an interchain DAO and all these sort of aspects of being able to have like interchain governance and all that.
Mhm.
I imagine I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they'd probably be considering you guys have like you guys are friendly with each other, but just generally, I'd imagine that they wouldn't be against like integrating with your dashboard in the ways that you've kind of mentioned, where it's like you can um, it kind of incentivizes use of your products, but also it's not like taking away from um, the protocol itself or whatever. It's just kind of like centralizing like where you can kind of experience everything because you guys have the back end to store data and all these things in the first place.
Well,
Um,
the cool thing is actually the end user storing it themselves.
yeah. Well,
So it would be interesting to figure out a way to get them to collect their own data that way. And you could also have places if you wanted to sell your own data, you could do that. But we wouldn't have the ability to do any of that. It would all be up to the end user. But when it comes to integrating, we're still such early days. So it's
Yep.
really just a pipe dream right now, figure out how many things we can jam in this dashboard. Like imagine we could do something like 8board and jam 8board in there too. It would be
What's 8board?
interesting.
I've genuinely not seen it.
If you haven't seen 8board, it's a really cool product. It's where you put all your wallet addresses.
Yeah, it's
And,
crazy, man. There's so many. It's like every protocol under the fucking sun.
yeah, so it's
Actually,
all
could
the
someone link me? Is it 8board finance? Yeah.
I don't want to
Yep.
tell you that it's the right thing if you're gonna get
Yeah, no, I found it. I found it. Yeah, this is definitely it.
Fished by the Jackal
yeah,
guys.
yeah, if you don't click any ads. Other than that, it's just some cool protocols. There's all
It's
kinds of
asking for
different
my
ideas.
it's asking for my seed password. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no,
Um,
don't do that. That's not allowed.
yeah, that's really cool. I'm really keen to see how you guys. I'm actually really interested to see how you guys build out a B2C user experience because I know you guys have like a B2B focus. I couldn't do the test net because I'm not technically inclined. I genuinely just can't run any of that. But so in this general sense, I get the feeling that like it's obviously technically heavy. It's obviously computationally complex, and then building out like I'm assuming you're going to have to essentially run like a very simple sort of not simple, actually simple, yes. Um, B2C kind of interface and ways you can interact with that because past that, it's more it's an infrastructure layer, right? So do you? I know you said you wanted to build. Well, part of building this was because you have a product you want to build out on top of it. But are any of those at a stage where you could talk about them? Because I know you guys. Any products that you guys are planning on building out on top of Jackal?
Yeah,
Things you can talk
so
about.
right
Well,
now
if I can jump
we're
in for a
trying.
second.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention something. So you're talking about the technical challenges and stuff, which are definitely true. But one of the things that we're focusing on for the B2C realm is the actual alpha and beta process that we're going through right now. I don't know if you had a chance to even look at the alpha or not, but there are some videos on YouTube from a couple of different providers
Okay.
that I would recommend checking out. But the goal of the B2C currently is a fairly seamless experience that's as close to Dropbox as possible because everybody's familiar with Dropbox.
Yeah, I did the
So
alpha. It was a lot like that in terms of just except for the all the clicks, but
yeah, and most of those clicks will go away because those we left in there for
Testing out, right?
purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we've got the testing where we're happy, we're stripping out most of those clicks, condensing, deploying, and I mean we're I think Patrick mentioned already that we're looking at doing the skinning that you saw a preview of there. We're working on finalizing that design so we can get that ready for MVP when we launch, which would be nice if it was soon. We'll see what happens.
And just to add on that, so when you ask the question of what we're working on right now, we're just trying to actually get the product to MVP. But the other two things in the dev pipeline, RNS integrations and getting RNS all set up. That's another big use case because that increases the ease of use of the product for people that don't want as high as a cybersecurity posture. So it can kind of be a little bit more when you're transferring files. It's a little bit more like email in that sense, where you can have a human readable name. If you want a high security posture, don't use that, obviously. But if you kind of want that ease of use while still maintaining custody of all your data, that's a great way to do so. The other thing that's really interesting is the ability to host static websites.
Okay.
Right now, I don't know if you got a chance. I don't know if it's still active because another testnet went down. But there's a link somewhere where if you click it, it says you're reading this through the Jackal gateway, which is which is always fun. But the cool thing about that is you could just put a www folder in your Jackal file tree, and you could host a website from it. All you need is a web gateway. The other cool things that are interesting about that, Jackal can't have like dynamic websites because Jackal is like kind of like more like storage boxes rather than like
It's
Jackal
like
can't do.
IPFS stuff, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
so Jackal
limitations
can't
of
do.
it.
Yeah, Jackal can't do math.
Okay, that's an easy way to put it.
Yeah, so Jackal can't do math, but Jackal is kind of like a storage locker, right? But if you pair Jackal with like a cache node,
Yeah.
you could have a dynamic website in that sense, which is pretty cool in itself. Or if you spin up a bunch of cache nodes acting as web gateways, you could have multiple ways to get to the website, which makes it more decentralized, I guess.
So we'd be using your node, your IPFS node for the hosting?
To host the websites, that's a Marston question. Aaron, do you know the answer to that?
So
Or that'd be
basically,
something.
what happens? I don't know the inner workings fully because I haven't dug into it. I haven't had time. But
Yeah.
basically, from what I've seen of what Martian shared and what he's explained to me, then effectively what happens is the gateway is a separate, for lack of a better word, module that can plug into the Jackal storage system, and so it just knows you point it at one of any number of light nodes once the light node system's up and going, and currently it's just working off of our test node. But you point it at a light node, doesn't matter which one, and then it will connect, fetch the files based on the parameters provided, and there's your website.
Wow. That's amazing because that cuts out a lot of I don't know. I feel like that's huge for just peace of mind for a lot of use cases.
So
yeah.
if in the meeting
So
chat, I just posted the link there. If you want to go click it, I didn't mean to cut you off there, and you can keep going.
Oh yeah, no. So basically, as you can see, it boils down to there's going to be two elements. There's going to be the user who has that www folder that we're going to do fancy things with, but they put their index file in that folder, and that's what's served. And then there's the secondary part, which is currently the gateway.marston.xyz. That is the gateway provider. So there'll be this interesting dynamic between creators and sharers of data and the gateways that are connecting to that data. So 20 people might have a gateway, and 20 different people might have content shared, and every one of those is a possible connection between each other. So that's getting into that decentralized system that we're looking for. The other thing that's kind of fun about this is that this follows our permission system. So if you are connected in with your wallet into the gateway, then you can access things that have been shared to that wallet address and others can't. So instead of having just like a basic password on a web page, it's a page that's actually locked out based on your wallet.
So it's like a permissioned, like Google Docs or something like that, or work like a workspace. You can make it potentially,
Well,
or just not so
like
much a
Patrick said, it
workspace.
can't do math, so it's not
Yeah,
really a
yeah, just a
workspace. It's
repository,
more
more
along the
like
lines of
maybe.
like a photo album, for example, right?
Yeah, or just
You
like
want to share
sensitive
pictures of
documents.
your kids, but you don't want everyone in the world to see your kids. So you
Right.
share it with grandma's wallet. I don't know why grandma has a wallet, but grandma has a wallet in this case. And you share it with
Oh,
grandma.
okay.
Grandma is the only one that can see what's in that
Oh,
page.
okay. So this gets into where you guys are talking about like medical real like use cases where like you could revoke it when you're done with the doctor, just so you don't have to worry about like that like office getting hacked because they didn't update Windows or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, because
So
they don't have it.
exactly. So here's another cool thing that we can kind of create an ecosystem where all users are self-custodial of all their data, which is kind of interesting in itself. So when you interface with an application, instead of the application having a file that's allocated to each user, which is how a lot of other websites would or applications would give you the great user experience that you're used to. Because they have like all your data. So like when you log into Facebook, what Facebook does is they go look on their AWS server or if it's their own servers, that's a possibility too. And they go find like the file that's associated with the end user and then presents all the stuff associated with them in their dashboard essentially, right? We could create a situation where instead of Facebook is custodial of that end user's data, you can be self-custodial of it. So if you don't want to work with an application anymore, you can create a way that the end user just revokes read and write permissions from the application. So you can just collect your own data. So you don't really need to have trackers or cookies or anything like that because every time you connect, it gives the application access to the folder that it has to read and write all its files to.
Is that like the cache as well? You can kind of like block
Yeah.
off.
Well, you could theoretically be self-custodial of your entire browsing data from what is needed to use other applications. So you can collect your own data. So instead of an application selling your data, you can sell your own data in that sense, which is
So
kind
how
of
would
cool.
you do that? So I know like obviously Google can make a killing off of it, but like me myself, I don't know. Like I'm nobody like like nobody gives it like I don't know how to use that. Like it, I
Yeah.
guess it's
Well,
just like the market would form around it because
well,
Microsoft
Pretty
wants
much.
it, so does Google.
it's never existed before, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's never been a situation where users are self-custodial of their data unless it's like sitting in an SSD that they like walk around with in their pocket, for
Right,
example, right?
right.
So in this situation, there's data marketplaces that exist. Um, I want to say Ocean Protocol. I think that's the one. Um, Ocean Protocol is like a super cool protocol where it's just like you can just buy and sell data there.
With
Um,
like your clicks on a website or like what Google like analytics would track or like Google Ads or whatever, like down to like how long you spend on a site and a landing
yeah,
page. Like okay.
exactly. So you can just like publish data there. You can just like write what like the data is, and you just like upload it.
Mm,
Um, it's not really like end user data. It's like more for like the B2B data
yeah.
sales. But you could create a situation where from the Jackal dashboard, if you want to, you could just like earn revenue on your own data. You could just sell it. I think there's like a ballpark quote. I think it's like $3,000 every year is what Google makes on each user that uses like their suite, I believe. If that's
Right.
like if that's true, I know that data is more expensive than oil, which is just crazy.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I mean, Facebook or Apple shutting them off seems to be causing quite the stir, so I wouldn't be surprised, especially with how much Google Suite has.
well,
I
he
mean,
makes so
yeah.
much money. There's a lot of money in data sales, right?
Right,
Well, there's
yeah.
the other thing. I think there's like a good. Um, I hope you guys are okay. This is a little bit less formal, and we're just kind of shooting the shit at this point, but we can
No,
kind of
for
have
sure.
fun this way. Um, I
It's
think
fun,
there's a
like yes.
yeah. I think what's the name of that British like late night comedian? John Oliver, I think.
Yeah, the one who does like just like the solo kind of stuff. He's like sitting in front of the thing, and he's cheeky a little bit,
Yeah,
kind
I
of like
think
a
so.
Jon Stewart but British, and less kind of like
Yeah, so this is actually a really good. It's kind of a good way to kind of explain like how this ecosystem works. My father sent it to me actually, so he was just like, "Hey, this is what you do," and I'm like, "Oh, interesting." But he kind of displays there, and it's a really interesting. It's an intelligence tool where people like law enforcement, cyber criminals, they'll buy data and they can get really specific. So, for example, if I wanted to find my data, what I would do is I would go males between the age of like 25 and 35 in Canada in this neighborhood. And then they're interested in blockchain and they're interested in this and they're interested in that. And you can, like, if you put enough parameters, you can get really specific of pinpoints from data sales. So and then you can reverse engineer that to figure out who the end user is, which is super spooky.
Yeah, you can do it with you can get 99.9% accuracy with 12 data points.
99.9. So there's no risk
With-
in that either, besides like trying to spam it, like I guess just like DDoS it, for lack of a better term. I guess just I know
Well,
that's what like people do with Facebook. Could that be a thing?
yeah, like there's a way that can be a thing, but the big spook here is from our experience, like before I got into Jackal, like we would try to catch cyber criminals, right? Um, and the way that they reverse engineer all your information and then steal your crypto that way, it's pretty spooky. Like we worked to recover like about 100 million, I think, between 2020 2021 before we kind
Holy
of got
shit!
into this whole thing. But essentially, like the reason why they're able to kind of run rampant in Canada, for example, is one use case, is the poor controls around your publicly obtainable information. It's super
Yep.
dangerous. Where essentially what they do is for example, like I go to a gym called Movati, and Movati gets hacked, and all of the users' information is just dumped on the open internet, usually through something like raid forms. At
Yep.
that point, what happens is a company like Dhash, for example, will like index that and then like provide the information of like usernames and passwords. What happens then is people in the gray web, kind of like Tor lurkers and things like that, they will index all that information and then they'll try to turn information about that individual. So, for example, in the data breach, it's name, address, and credit card information. They will take those data points and try to pivot to more data points, right? So
And you
when that
can
pivot,
essentially, because you can easily cross reference, right?
oh my goodness, like you can find that person on Facebook. You can figure out the name of their dog because it's probably on their Instagram, TikTok. Their kids are all over TikTok, so they're just like publishing content all day just about the inside of your house. So you can gain enough information that once you get enough information, you can access someone's bank account, right?
Yep.
And then what happens is that once that code is cracked, that is packaged, and they call it like a full or pro, depending on where you
I got a
purchase that
name for
information.
it. Jesus.
Yeah, dude. So at that point, it's packaged, and then they index the price of the package of your personal information based on credit score. Because
Equifax.
yeah, so they'll run you through Equifax and they'll figure out what your credit score is. They don't actually want to withdraw money from your account because it's a lot easier if you take out a product from a bank because the onboarding process is easier. So what they'll do is like they'll take out a line of credit and just change your email, for example. But the thing is that when they want to access your crypto, they'll try to find your email and then they'll try to like you have to kind of get it work in a team to do this. They'll try to SIM swap you, get access to your email, and try to figure out if you emailed your seed phrase to yourself, for example,
Just hunt
or
around your
access like
Dropbox or something like that.
yeah, or
Like
access a centralized exchange, for
yeah.
example. You don't need a seed phrase to access a centralized
Oh
exchange.
right. Yeah.
So there's all kinds, like it's super dangerous, and we think it's kind of time for people to be a little
It's just
better with their digital privacy posture.
not just that. I would just on all of this, like hearing all this is kind of spooky, right? I'm definitely also going to need to save this interview for later because I think interview AMA Dunny Dump.
Well,
But like info dump, like because you provide a lot of information, right? You have a lot of really good information, which is really cool. So what I was gonna say is, in terms of privacy, it's also interesting because I see a lot when people are getting hacked, and like obviously this is probably just them clicking on links, right? Like these aren't super intricate hacks, but I think it's interesting because you're yet to see like, I don't know, prominent BC members get like hacked through this full package access point, which is still very possible because people are really dumb about their online presence, especially when they're public facing figures, when they've got a lot of funds, and then there's just like less general protections in place, I feel. Or it's like that's running. So like people are putting putting information online faster than the technology is being built to protect them.
I totally agree with you. If you guys want to have a little bit of fun right now, we can kind of. This is not really as great for the. I guess for the people. Let me know if I'm live here.
Yeah, you're live.
Yep.
I also did like a
Um,
service where it tracks down your private info, and
Which
apparently,
one am
like,
I on? Am I on this one? Yeah, there we go. We can go back.
You're on
Okay,
Twitter,
cool.
and dehash, yeah.
Okay, so this is Dehash. So this is like a service that like index. All it does is just index breach data credentials. And you can look at the different data wells here, which is interesting, where you can kind of figure out like what the breach was and like what website it was, and then the time of the breach, how much info. For example, this breach database is about 14 million credentials. The sad thing about Canada, particularly, is Canada actually got breached for the census. So when they kind of like
You're
knock on your door and
kidding
ask you for your
me.
questions, yeah, the 2018
Oh
census
my god.
got hit, which is like really ugly. Other than that, though, so everyone they released phone number, name, and address. So with that information, you can like pivot to other data points. So for example, if I wanted to be like let's go to the ottawapolice.ca. So this is if this is the right thing. Yeah. So this is the Ottawa Police. And this is all like let's pick a random guy here.
this isn't even the deep web, right? This is just
No,
clear web.
this is
No,
sitting right on
we
the
had
this
What
is right
the
on the
fuck?
surface internet, right? So
What the
if
hell?
well the thing is that
It's
this
just
is legal.
OSINT? Yeah, right.
This is
using
totally
Google here, right? Like,
So
this is
you can
totally legal.
technically email these guys, right? Because like I went through like 10 different like services or whatever where I emailed them technically and they took down all my information, but like you could technically pay them for that. And I would have to pay somebody to constantly email them over and over and over again to get them taken down. So like
Yeah, well,
unless
there's an API here, right? But what happens is that you're never going to get all that information off because it's still sitting in the gray web where like it's just access. You can just access it directly from the breach. So the reason why this is legal, so as soon as information is dumped onto the open internet in a breach, even though it was illegal to breach, it's not illegal to index or
it's
access
not
or take
illegal
a
to
look at.
index practice. Yep.
Yeah, so this individual here, if you just click this,
It's
you
too
have
hard to
this is
regulate.
yeah, this is an encrypted username. So this person got away lucky. Let's move to off share this. Let's go to collections. So this is just like a password, just in plain text.
unhashed.
Yeah, it's just in plain text, right? It's
Because
pretty crazy.
it's been breached to that extent where it's like that is.
It's hilarious.
Did the company leave it unhashed or did they do
What
that
a
and
great
then dump
password,
it?
by the way.
Oh, wow.
Well, the thing is that so this is from the collections data breach, which is a very common one. But if you look at like the Auto Police, 803 officers have had their information breached, right?
803.
Yeah, well, let's go to we can go to like
So
for
wait,
example
what do you look up?
Cisco.
Can you look up yourself here if you're on it?
Cisco.com, I think. I'm not going to be looking at myself because I don't know who you
No.
guys
But
are.
as in, can I look myself up?
Yeah, so Cisco is a huge company, right? So if you do like at Cisco.com and that's like the index, you can actually just like you just see all the publicly obtainable information. So they have about 195,000 breaches. So it's this person's at Cisco.com password. This is not right. It was just indexed wrong. But you can just like troll around in here until you figure out. This is all going to be password Cisco because it's poorly inputted into the system, I believe. Yeah, they screwed this
Do
up.
you
But if
think
I get
all this
more
stuff has been
Patrick,
parsed through already? For all the good
uh,
stuff? Or
um,
is
well,
uh,
new things are indexed every second, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
breaches are always happening. I know raid forms got taken down, which is like one of the most
Mhm.
prominent, but all the data wells, it gets uploaded daily. You have like things from like Ashley Madison dump to adult friend finder to like AI.type to we can go to like all the way back down here. Wyoming voter registration, Xbox 360 ISO data breach,
They're
which
also
is like
keeping
2015.
the hex ones just in hopes of being able to break it soonish, right? For like military secrets, like 5-10 years down the line. That's not too far, I guess.
Yeah, well, it really depends on like what the thesis is of your. I can't talk too much about it, but like there's different theses. If you look at like China's intelligence thesis of how they
Mhm.
operate as a country, they collect everything, so they throw a really wide net out, and they just like grab all the data and they just say we'll break it in the future, for example. So they'll just grab
Yeah.
everything they can get their hands on. Other like Five Eyes, a little bit more targeted, from my personal opinion, but who knows?
North Korea
Other
just
than
takes
that,
your Bitcoin,
yeah,
your
exactly,
Axie and
exactly,
dips, your Axie
exactly.
Infinity, and
So that's
oh
kind
my
of how
god.
this whole system works. But when I talk about increasing the cybersecurity posture of the end user, um, if this happens to you, if you operate solely in the Jackal ecosystem is obviously going to suck, like in early days, because like that's just how it's going to work. Because we're not
Mhm.
going to have like a whole amazing like Web2 system that's going on. But the reason why these people have their information breached is not their fault. It's a third party that got breached, whether it's the Wyoming voter registration, whether it's CRA in Canada, whether it's like swappernet.com, or whether it's you can go through
Your
pretty much
car loan or
everything.
anything, right? Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
like
It's
this
stuff
is
you need to. Yeah.
sochi.com.ru. You can keep on going through here. Sheen, Scotland.com. Like it's third parties that are always getting breached. And you can look at like um or just data breaches in history.
Didn't it
I
just kind
think
of happen recently?
Facebook got Facebook got hit really bad, I think last year.
Or what is
MySpace,
this? A
360 million.
cybersecurity firm got hit, right?
Yeah, I use I literally just look at what's it called, the whole like have you been pwned or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's such a good resource. It's one of the best free
I mean,
resources
right.
out there for sure.
Yeah, my
Um,
check account from college is screwed. Holy crap.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, like I don't.
could you? I kind of want you to look up something on Dash for my email and Dash for because I can't see the info.
Yeah,
I
just
don't because like
ping it to
yeah, I'll
me and
ping
we
you.
can do it later.
Yeah, I'm curious because I'm
But
really curious. Yeah,
yeah, well, that's pretty much like
yeah.
security posture right now, just as kind of a blanket term for most of the world, whether it's a corporation, individual, or government. It's so bad, man. It's
I mean, you're defending
it's
yourself against nation states here, like at a certain extent. Like, I guess it's
well,
inevitable,
it's not
right?
even nation states. It's on the flip side of things. It's everyone, like
Yeah.
from the small SBA in the United States, CRA up here, the census, whether it's a social media company. LinkedIn got hit really bad. I can Facebook got hit really bad.
You
It's
only need like
everyone's
two of these
data.
to get hit, and they have a pretty good idea of who you are. You're saying too, right? They don't even
Wait,
need
so
that
what
many
a
data points. Just
collections data?
default it.
Yeah, well, the best data point to get is a username or an email. Those are usually the
Really?
best. Even your regular name, unless it's like really unique, is pretty much useless
Wait,
Really?
from our
just
operational
curious.
standpoint.
What is collections data again?
Collections is a collection of all kinds of different breaches. So
Fun.
sometimes cyber criminals will like prowl for like they'll scrape for like a bunch of small breaches and then they'll throw it into one big thing called collections. So collection number one is one of the largest breaches. It has like I think it's almost a billion different
Yeah,
like a
they'll
billion
just
different
dump them,
credentials in there.
right? There's also
Yeah.
that huge like password repository cracker or whatever.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them out there, right? Some people have like their own personal like I've seen it where we have forensics labs where like if we have a court order to open a device, for example,
Mhm.
we'll run it and you'll take the limiter off, like the password. Like, when you click on your phone sometimes, like the wrong password too many times, they'll like time you out for a certain amount of time.
And then you just spam it.
Yeah, so if you can take that function off, depending on like what iOS you have, if you're on iPhone, or depending on like the version of your device, you can just brute force it with like a bajillion different options.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
long does that take?
A
Well,
few
it depends
days.
on whether they're using front end verification to limit your attempts, or if they're actually limiting your attempts on the back end. If they're not
Exactly.
bothering to limit on the back end and just relying strictly on the front end, you just blast it all day as many times
Just
as you want.
blast it, and if you have a good,
Such pro-
like a server, it'll just take 18 hours or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I
it depends on like security requirements, but most of the time,
Right.
actually, it's actually less secure to have password requirements beyond a password length, because most people will usually put their numbers and symbols at the end, numbers followed by symbols. So
Exactly what it
you
says
can
in
hit
order.
passwords really easily with just some educated guesses, and you just adjust your parameters for when you're trying to hit.
I
And
might
you'll
go
get in.
change my Facebook contact.
Yeah, well, for like iPhone, I know we've done a few iPhones before, depending like if it has like if it's I think it's like 4 versions ago. I think that's before they fixed it. You could just brute force your way directly into an iPhone if you figure out a way to take the limiter off. Other than that, man. Well, the other funny thing is that if someone has like people are so uncreative when you have a
They really
password
are.
if your password like got breached, like everyone started like kind of like this special word, right? So you have this word, and then and then one day like all the different web application were like, okay, now you need a capital in your word, so you capitalize the first letter,
Right,
and then it
Yeah,
right.
says,
The
okay,
one,
yeah,
and
that's
then an
true.
yeah,
exclamation point, and then you're
yeah,
fucked. Yeah, and then
now you
you
need
just plug. Oh,
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't think of the
You
name
got to
of
be
the
able to
body at
remember
this
it, and
point.
then it's like, where are you storing it otherwise? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, obviously,
Well,
if you're password manager.
And that's the thing is, I don't remember the name of the body that advises. It's Patrick. You probably remember the name of them more than I do, but they're the guys that basically set industry web standards for privacy and security.
that's
And
great.
they used to say, it should be at least X number of characters long with an uppercase and a lowercase. And then 2 years ago, they realized that was a terrible idea, and they said you should, under no circumstances, require specific things from passwords because it makes them less secure. You should instead require a minimum of 16 characters, and you don't care what they are.
Yeah,
Because then people will put in,
because there's less
whatever they
parameters in which
want.
you can search through.
Right. So
Yeah.
you don't know, okay, well, it has to have, an uppercase character. Well, that's, probably my first character. That means I've halved my number of letters that I'm using, and I've eliminated all of my special characters and numbers. So that's, gone from, hundreds of possibilities down to, 26. And, then you got, well, I need 8 characters. So that's 5 more characters that are most likely going to be lowercase. So again, down to 26 characters, and then we're going to do numbers. So we only got 10 there, and then a symbol, most of which the interface will tell you which symbols are not allowed. So you just eliminate those, take your normal
Oh
ASCII
yeah, I
symbols,
hate those.
and yep, and then you've got a pretty limited. So if you said 8 characters, no restrictions, I mean, it's billions and billions of possibilities. But as soon as you restrict that, you're down to,
Jesus.
hundreds of millions instead of, it's a
Yeah.
huge difference that just removing those requirements has made things much more secure, but most websites haven't caught up yet.
And
Yeah, so
during
just
that
so you said
whole-
you need to run contests, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, it got really interesting. It got really to my favorite part of this conversation. So
Acho que a cadeira tá fazendo doer.
Does anyone have mute pass?
the other thing that's a little bit interesting as well. Do you know what takes away the entire attack vector of like email and password?
What?
Not having one or password.
Your wallet. It's the most. That's why we're dead serious. Where Jackal has
Oh,
we
that's
can pull
literally
this
like
off,
you literally have the most secure like vectors.
it's the highest cybersecurity and digital privacy posture on the market when you have a seed phrase, and if you put that in a safety deposit box at a bank or get a third party to be custodial of that, it's extremely secure.
There's nothing that it could ever until quantum or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
There's nothing that can happen unless like you have a hot wallet and you like have someone that has a keylogger of you
I have
putting
a
in your
different.
seed phrase.
Yeah, there's a different like attack vector. Your
Yeah,
computer.
like if your computer is the attack vector, but still, if you have a hardware
Or
wallet,
social engineered or whatever, yeah. And that's
yeah, if you have a
pretty much
hardware
it.
wallet and you want that security posture, I wouldn't recommend like a hardware wallet for like your files unless you have like you really want a high security posture, just because like the ease of use would be super annoying. But even a hot wallet, it removes so many cybersecurity attack vectors.
So
Like
I've got to go. Sorry.
What are the options for, I guess it's the options for, I guess, a hot wallet, like this kind of like hot layer right now? I guess it's the blockchain that makes that possible because
Browser wallets.
everything else can be,
yeah,
but I guess, yeah.
the only hot wallet option for like Jackal right now would be Kepler.
We are looking
So-
to support Star Shell when it comes out. We just don't know when it's going to come out to really start building around it.
They said around August, end of August, I heard somewhere, I believe. But also, I just want to quickly ask, because I feel like after this whole talk now, if anybody ever listened to the recording of this, which I will definitely listen back to again, and Benji, you should definitely listen to this recording sometime. This was nuts. What I would love to ask is, how can we as users with relative convenience, like what's the best way to like secure things? Like, are we running like password managers, like obviously using like some form of combination of hot wallet and hardware wallets,
Yeah,
all these sorts of things?
That's a really good
So-
question. So
What
it
are the good
depends.
apps? What good apps should we be using as well?
Yeah, well,
Like which
so
which password manager?
so when we have like clients, so sometimes in our previous business, we'd have people that would approach us and they would say, hey, like we want to increase the cybersecurity posture because I'm CEO or I have access to like the corporate bank account or I'm a celebrity, for example. It depends on their scale, right? Because your life can get really miserable really quick depending on what your security posture is. So it's always a sliding scale. So when you increase the ease of use, you always decrease the security posture. When you increase the security posture, the easy use starts to suck, right?
The convenience
So
and part of
yeah,
the
so
problem with secret.
it's so there's a really great book by this guy named Mike Bazell. He's kind of like the godfather of like open source intelligence. He's also the godfather of like the flip side of things is privacy as well. And he's the bomb.
What's his name?
His name's Michael Bazell. I can find.
I'm sure Google will come up. Keep going.
Yeah, so Michael Bazell, he does like a privacy book. It's Extreme Privacy. I think this is it here. If you want to purchase this book, it's like the bomb when it comes to security postures. But it kind of talks about, okay, so the big things for me when it comes to increasing your security posture, get a password manager, number one. Just remember one master password and like don't recycle your password because it's like where everyone gets hit is like passwords recycling and I'm even
recently
guilty of it myself.
started using fake names for like services I don't use a lot. I think I started
You
that a little
haven't
bit
already been
too.
doing that?
Yeah.
Something I would definitely recommend too is
Just
do your
lying
due
about my
diligence.
name every year. Yeah.
Yeah, do your due diligence on a password manager because they are not all created equal.
I have done. So I use Bitwarden.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
used
me.
to.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah, that's all I needed to hear. That genuinely, that's all I. You use it,
I know.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
used LastPass, but LastPass got hit. So
When we're done.
LastPass got hit twice.
I was originally using LastPass because it's like more user friendly, but then they also paywalled it, and I went, well, I'll just opt for the open source, like relatively recommended by everybody I know that does first year IT at uni. So not very helpful. But
Okay, on this topic, browser password managers, how big of a security threat are they? Because I know they're constantly warned against, but like,
yeah,
they're huge.
obviously like you
They make
can't.
them so easy to use, man. It's like
It does increase your ease of use, but then again, like you have all your passwords sitting in like a browser extension.
right.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's better than sitting it on Google. Like, let's just say
well,
it feels better than sitting on Google.
but at the end of the day, as long as you have like that one master password, and then you make sure that you leverage the web browser, you're probably already better than 99% of people out there by just like not recycling and creating a new randomly generated password every time. Because like if you get hit, the dangers of that is pretty low, unless like someone gets into your browser extension itself, then you have some issues.
Well, then like
Pardon
that's like
Firefox.
computer security, right? That's like hardware security, also, right? I'd imagine.
Yeah,
But
well,
browsers,
there's
no.
it depends on where they're storing it on their end.
Okay. I was gonna say BitLocker is BitLocker, like, I know BitLocker it's not a password manager. It's like it's an encryption for your device. I have no clue. If it's like relevant.
Like obviously.
Do I need to
like,
go through and activate that because it currently doesn't work on my computer?
Well, KeePass XC is one of the best offline ones. Bitwarden's an awesome offline one as well. I
Love
just
Bitwarden.
Yeah, I use KeePass.
My stuff got corrupted on KeePass once, and I lost a few passwords. Yeah, I read about it, and apparently it's like a fluke thing that happens with one of the software versions. Like, I don't think I was too far out of date, but yeah, I tried
What about
everything.
2FA?
Yeah, I tend to
2FA.
back my database off to the cloud every sort of 6 months to a year, just to get that additional backup in case that scenario.
Yeah.
Bitwarden's auto cloud backup, isn't it?
Pardon?
I do the 333 now, but it gets into the thing where I'd start to look into the Google. Like I encrypted everything before I put it into the cloud and stuff, but at the same time, I did that from a Microsoft computer. So like, was that worth it in the first place? Probably not, right? Because Microsoft has it anyway.
No idea.
No,
Privacy.com is pretty cool too. Where like it creates new credit cards for you every single time. Like virtual credit cards, and then like
but that's
I just posted it
only
in meetings thread.
in the States, is it? If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
You can set like a dollar limit, right? So you can avoid the.
Yeah. Well, what it does most importantly, like other than like just like mining free trials, I guess. what it does do is it issues you a new credit card every single time, so that you don't like. Remember when we talk about like data getting breached from third party websites? It's like they store your
so
credit
it's
card
only
information.
like it's this single. Yeah.
But no zip code though. You don't have to.
I'm not really. I'm from Canada, so I haven't actually
Okay.
used it. But a lot of our clients in the States is comfortable using it. UB keys are cool. Other things that are
I've
kind
heard
of
about them.
cool. You can get microphone blockers, camera covers, like vehicle sticker shields, VPN routers, depending on like how high of a security posture. You could also have.
Currently using Cloudflare's Warp. Not that that's like amazing.
I'm not really
I just have a
bullish on
last thought
VPNs.
before I do have to actually jump, and that is bad security is better than good security you don't use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say like Cloudflare's Warp is just like, usable. It's free. I don't have to pay for it.
But
if you know any other free VPNs and stuff, would be good. Like.
Another thing that people never do is update your router.
I was gonna say just router protection in general from what they give you from the store. I heard that's huge.
So bad.
It's just for 20 years I've never touched a router. Our cable company in the UK here, they give you a little box, but the great thing about that box is you can turn the router off and flick it into modem only mode. So I flick the router into modem only mode and then pass that straight into a back of a Linux, and that Linux is the firewall, and then the other side of the Linux, the other network card, goes out into a switch. So then the actual computer is a router, not a silly little ISP, and then that way you've got maximum security in terms of firewall, because then you can do something like pfSense or Smoothwall or OpenSense or any of those ready to go firewall application software that you can basically put onto a USB card, shove it into the drive of that PC, and turn that PC into full blown hardware application firewall, which has got much more tools like built in, like for squatting stuff that are coming in from web pages, advertisements, traffic control on your internal network, independent Wi-Fi sockets, all that kind of thing, all from the main PC unit. Yeah, it costs a little bit more in electricity, but it's stealth protection.
Wait, so
I like these vaults as well, like these hardware firewalls. When we set up, it depends on like how serious you are. Because when we were setting up CEOs and people who had access to bank accounts on behalf of corporations, we would like redo their house, and we'd actually create the funniest thing is we had to get the kids. We had to split the web traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done with mine. Exactly what I've done with mine. Exactly, and that's exactly. Yeah. Go on. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
You have to split the web traffic because the kids are like they're literal germs when it comes to your...
Yes. And that's the thing about when you've got a proper firewall appliance. It's like you can in my computer I've got like I've only got like 4 network cards inside my computer, but that means that on one segment or through one network card, all the kids' traffic and guest traffic who come to the house, they use that. Another network card goes to like my servers, and another network card goes to my wife's, and another network card goes to all the multimedia throughout the house, right?
Super.
And what this means is like any one of the network cards cannot interact with the others, but mine, being the master or the main network card, can interact with any of the others to do any administration that I need to do, kind of thing. So when I get people coming around with their iPhones and all this kind of stuff, I'm secure knowing that they can't even go anywhere near my machine at a hardware level.
No, you're smart, man.
If I just signed up
crazy.
for cable
Holy
or whatever
fuck.
for my new place, how do I just harden a router? Like if I'm not an expert or whatever.
If you literally
is there
go
software
to PF Sense, and even though you're not an expert, like you can find the community there and you can start asking them some questions, and then over a period of time, you soon become an expert. It's not difficult. It's just that people don't do it.
It's not a switch. I shouldn't start flicking buttons before I go fucking around.
No, just honestly,
you can do it as a test thing. Like you can literally take like a 10-year-old computer that you think to yourself is a load of shit, and you're about to throw it in the bin, and you just do not do that, right? Instead, you buy like 3 network cards priced at sort of like £6 each, so like 15-20 quid for 3 network cards. You shove it in the back, you install PF Sense on that machine, and then you fiddle around playing with it, and then you'll turn around and you'll go, I'm not switching back to anything else ever again. You'll become an instant convert. It's great stuff to play around with, and then it becomes serious.
It's really great when your kids start downloading like free V-Bucks and stuff like that. It gives you that extra little protection for sure. I'm surprised. I haven't heard of anyone that isn't that serious into their privacy that is taking the time to do that. You're smart, man.
Well, it's got to be. I'll tell you right now, they will be on this network. They will just never talk.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've been in it. I've been in it for 20 years, 22 years. I first got something called Smoothwall. That was the first community-driven package that was a firewall that used an old PC instead of a router. I used that for 10 years up to about 2012. And then ever since then, I've used PF Sense. I have considered using OpenSense. And this goes back to when somebody said earlier, make sure that your stuff updates. PF Sense has an update roughly around every 3 or 4 months. So it's constantly on top of anything that can come out. It's very, very powerful stuff and very credible, and is used inside many big corporations around the world, which also gives you that greater level of trust in knowing
not made
that.
By Cisco, is it?
It's not made by Cisco. No, it's
okay.
it's a Linux. It starts off as a Linux, stripped down IP tables and what have you, and then built up with a user interface that looks far better than most systems that you would buy ever. It's a good system. I'd say it's one notch down or parallel to a Cisco system. The only thing that Cisco would probably be better at would be the fact that the switch would be a managed switch, as opposed to you or I we don't need to have a managed switch. We can just have a regular switch, and it is fine with that.
Benji, what's your background, first of all? And second of all, I have a feeling if you split your network traffic, do you live off of VoIPs too?
Do I what, sorry?
Do you live off VoIPs, like voice over IP
I
phones
was
too?
really interested in VoIPs. Yes, I was really interested in VoIPs and SIP and all that type of thing around about 15 years ago.
Jesus.
But
Jesus.
like I didn't get into it wholly because I don't think the market was ready back then, and it was like I can't see a true application to like use it, and it was difficult to get other people to get on board with it. My background, my background starts at about the age of 12, 13 years of age, where I was pissing around with 8-bit computers. Basically, I got the challenge to myself of curiosity, which was like, hey, I'm playing on this platform game, and there's this little character running around when I press left and right on the Z and X keys. How does that work? How does that actually happen? Why is it that I only have 3 lives? If I have 3 lives, and then when 3 lives are gone, it's end of game. What if I don't want to have 3 lives? What if I want to have 10 lives? What if I want to have 255 lives? This is how my mind worked when I was 12, 13. Therefore, with that mindset,
Oh no.
I decided to start hacking into games and trying to find out how machine code worked, and how developers wrote code, and what code was, and what hex code is, and yeah, so it started from a fascination in how computer games were created and how they worked and how software worked. And so I basically taught myself, because they didn't teach you this shit at school. So I taught myself how
They
to.
still don't, to be fair.
They still don't. Yeah. So I
Really?
taught myself.
I thought it was just America they didn't. Really? Other countries?
Oh, it's
Wait,
everywhere.
teach what? Like, wait,
Reverse
quickly.
engineering. They don't teach
Computer
reverse engineering.
science in high school and shit like that.
No, back in my day,
No, I mean
computer
you do.
science.
Sorry,
back
sorry.
in
Yes,
the
you
day,
do.
no.
Yes, you do.
Oh God, computer
You
science
can
back
learn
in
it.
my day. Jesus, that was
But-
using Linux. No, using not even Linux. Linux didn't even really exist. It was using Unix, I think, back
Dude,
then, and
to
using
be
a
fair, it's
word
not part of
processor.
the. It's not part of
No,
the main teaching.
no,
Even now,
no.
like you can pick up IPT and all this, but it also depends on like the quality of the curriculum they're running at the
You
school.
would
You
never
understand? Like
get a
nobody teaches
teacher.
this.
You
Nobody
would never
teaches this
have a
as a
teacher.
mainstream thing.
Yeah, you'd never have a teacher at
Not
school
guaranteed.
understanding how to reverse engineer code.
No,
That's a fact.
you
It's
just
like
generally you're just building shit in like I don't know Unity. Like I know that's completely different, but that's genuinely what you like. Not Unity. What's Unity with the game engine? One of them, Unreal Engine.
Unreal
I don't know.
Engine. Yeah, the 3D engine. Yeah,
Whichever one's
Unreal.
like easier to use, and then you just do shit in there, or like you do like research
Yeah.
projects on like what's like something cool, like some cool software. Like I don't know, I was looking at Magic Leap a while ago, which
I still think that's a very good thing for the modern day. You know what I mean? It's just that's still a
better,
really
but
good
like
introduction. It's better than what we had. We had to like learn how to use this word processor, which was so
yeah, but
boring.
it's 15 years, and like how fast tech has moved. Like, come on, I know
Oh, yeah.
education has not moved, so I guess that's the difference.
Oh, that's a bit
Education is
unfair.
like
Yeah, but you get a bit of education now. It's not as bad as it was. It's a
oh no,
bit
as in
better.
education as a like in terms of like moving
In-
towards more progressive teaching styles and stuff. Like my fucking economics lecturer still
Right.
teaches like
Okay.
the
Yeah.
most brain dead boring shit, and
Yeah.
it's like.
Fair.
How much money
Fair.
do our unis dump in like have and just like
Yeah,
come on, guys.
no, I understand. I get that. So yeah, that's where I started as a young kid, and then so that was a process. That was a particular 8-bit processor. Then later on, I decided to learn a 16-bit processor with a language called 68000, which was particularly cool by Motorola. And a bit later on, I started writing shit for magazines, so I became published. And I used to create a lot of magazine content at one bit.
That's cool.
And yeah, they used to have these things on the front of magazines called discs. And basically, software companies up around the country used to try and
Sell it to the
monopolize.
magazine.
Yeah, so they'd have a game demo that was going to be coming out.
Oh, I remember that.
you remember that?
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah,
Like a World of
right.
Warcraft handbook or something like that?
There
No,
you go.
you
Go,
used to
go.
be able to build software and sell it back to the magazine too. That was a
Right.
thing, and they would license it and then resell it, but you'd like make
Well,
like
these were demos because basically they wanted it as a promotion for that particular month's magazine. So the magazine would put out, like, say, 150, 200,000 copies throughout Europe of their magazine. And on the front of the magazine would be a free cover disc. On that cover disc would be a demo, one-level playable version of a software company's game that they're going to be releasing in about 6 weeks' time.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So what they would do is they would put that software with software disk protection systems onto give that to the magazine so that the magazine couldn't put anything else onto the disk due to the copy protection system that was encapsulating the demo of the game, right? However, there's one problem. At this stage now, I was like 18 years old or whatever, right? And I knew how to reverse all manner of code, including
Oh, is
copy
this where you
protection
go to prison?
systems. Right now, right. So I was able to turn around, take the copy protection system off, take the game code itself, recompress it, and realize that when I put it onto a normal disk, that instead of the game taking up 2 disks worth, it only took up, like, say, for example, a quarter of 1 disk. What this meant as a value proposition was that I could then turn around to the magazine and say, hey, do you realize that you've got 1 3/4 of disk space available that you can put other competing or just other products on that disk?
Thank you for listening in on the Agents of the Roundtable Community AMA. Follow us on Twitter at secret_AOTRT and every Monday at 7 p.m. UTC in the Secret Network Discord.